Tonight, Premier Moe announces his new cabinet. How Donald Trump's proposed export tariff will impact Saskatchewan. The Green and White get ready to hit the road for the West Final in Winnipeg.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It's Thursday, November 7th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for watching. The Saskatchewan government has a new cabinet, one that Premier Scott Moe says is part of a new beginning for his caucus. As Alexander Kwan reports, that new beginning also includes a broken campaign promise.
Premier Scott Moe says the results of the provincial election sent a clear message.
And many people in Saskatchewan, yes, voted for a strong economy and that bright future that we all desire, while many others voted for some degree of change. And now it's a task for our government to deliver both.
That fresh start began Thursday, with 16 ministers being sworn in.
I, Jeremy Cockrell, do solemnly and sincerely promise and swear that I will duly and faithfully...
Some familiar faces have new roles. Jim Ryder is now the new Minister of Finance and the Deputy Premier. Tim McLeod, one of the few lawyers in the caucus, is the new Minister of Justice. And in contrast to the 6 women in cabinet before the election, there are now only 3. As for the urban-rural divide in Saskatchewan, Moe believes his cabinet addresses that issue.
Our governing caucus represents 15 of the 16 cities in Saskatchewan, and this cabinet today will have 10 members that represent the Saskatchewan city.
Jeremy Cockrell and Everett Hindley are swapping portfolios. Hindley becomes the Minister of Education, and Cockrell becomes the Minister of Health. Moe also backpedaled on a promise he made while on the campaign trail, where he said if re-elected, he'd implement a gender-based change room policy in Saskatchewan schools. That was supposed to be the first order of business for his government, but that is no longer the case.
I'm a decisive personality, and I might say some things with, without maybe giving them the proper thought. And I would say that when I say this is when I said this would be the first order of government, it'd be one of those times.
Moe says the education minister will meet with school boards after they are elected next week. Consultations on a potential policy will begin shortly after that. It doesn't mean restrictions won't be implemented, but they may not come anytime soon. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
Donald Trump will be sworn in as U.S. president in just over 2 months. The transition period after the 2020 election was a tumultuous one, with Trump attempting to overturn the results. But today, outgoing President Joe Biden told Americans that Tuesday's vote was honest, fair, and transparent, and he promised a peaceful transition of power.
People vote and choose their own leaders, and they do it peacefully. And we're in a democracy. The will of the people always prevails. Yesterday, I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory, and I assured him that I'd direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition.
The White House had previously said that Biden would attend his successor's inauguration on January 20th. Trump refused to attend Biden's in 2021. Now, industry watchers are a bit anxious after Trump's big win earlier this week, many of them uneasy about Trump's America First policies. Aishwarya Dutta has more on Trump's proposed export tariff and what it could mean for Saskatchewan.
In his victory speech, Trump vowed to govern by a simple motto: the promises made are promises kept. And one of those promises is to impose a 10% tariff on imported goods. The province relies heavily on exports, and the U.S. is one of our biggest trading partners. So it's fair to say that agriculture, mining, steel, and power could face significant challenges if Trump keeps his promise.
It'll definitely affect our income. And there's other things that have affected our income in the last couple of years.
In 2023, Saskatchewan exported $6.7 billion worth of agri-foods to the U.S. alone.
So anything lower than what we're getting right now and all the commodities that we're growing, we'll have to top up from some other way, or we'll have to quit spending.
In his last presidency in 2016, Trump imposed tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel. They were later removed in 2019. This time, he wants to impose an across-the-board surtax on all U.S. imports. Still, some say Canada and the U.S. are more aligned on certain trade policies this time.
We've made some really big changes in Canada. That includes Section 53 tariffs that the Canadian government put in place on Chinese steel products that is directly aligned with the U.S. tariffs on China.
One business expert we spoke to says supply chains would need major restructuring. That doesn't happen overnight and would add to more costs and delays. Bruce Anderson says the broader economic impact could affect the government's revenue and employment in the province. But he says the biggest threat under Trump's presidency is uncertainty. Corporations and businesses plan 8 to 10 months in advance. Any potential tariffs could throw a wrench into their plans. But the Deputy Prime Minister is trying to calm anxious Canadians.
Canada will be absolutely fine. We have a strong relationship with the United States.
De Mozak believes Canada needs to show some courage and assert its trade importance.
We need courage from our own political leaders. The only way you deal with a bully is to push back.
Details are still slim regarding the proposed tariffs, but Trump is expected to unveil his plan after he's sworn in January. Aishwarya Duda, CBC News, near Bigger.
Saskatoon public library workers could be heading to the picket lines next week. CUPE Local 2669 represents the workers and says wages don't reflect the rising cost of living and workers are feeling unsafe on the job. CUPE says it's planning a work stoppage on Tuesday. Saskatoon Public Library says a tentative agreement was reached in September. It included a wage increase and safety measures, but the SPL says that agreement was rejected. CUPE's president says workers have experienced violence from verbal abuse, being shoved, or worse.
You know, our members are dealing with these things every day when they go to work. And so that's the main concern here. It's about ensuring that the employer provides the resources, support necessary to create safe workplaces and safe libraries.
The library says it's committed to bargaining and reaching a final agreement. The union says it's giving SPL 5 days to come up with a better deal. With each Remembrance Day further from the two world wars, the actual memories get cloudier and more abstract. Seeking to counter that is an online catalog compiling stories. Ashley Burke reports.
I have the letter that my grandmother received telling her that her husband has been killed.
The story of Matthew Chater's grandfather detailed in these records from the Second World War.
He felt the need to stand up against something that wasn't right in his eyes, and he did so. I'm proud of that.
In 1944, Walter Chater was among the troops who stormed the beaches of Normandy into Nazi gunfire. He became a motorcycle dispatch rider and died at 32 after hitting a landmine.
I think we all wish it never happened.
Now his sacrifice is no longer just family folklore passed between generations. It's among more than 300,000 veteran stories preserved in an app for anyone to see.
We don't want to lose these individuals and their stories and their sacrifice.
Veteran Ryan Mullins is a co-founder of the Memory Anchor app. They've used artificial intelligence to map out more than 100 cemeteries around the world.
We just basically press scan.
Users can scan tombstones.
There's my grandfather there.
And pull up the stories of those who fought and died in war. It's a way to put a face and story to names etched in stone.
This is a person that you can look into their eyes. It humanizes them a bit.
What does that mean to you?
A lot.
Retired Major Harry Chadwick's great-uncle was a pilot killed in action in Malta during the Second World War.
No member of my family has ever visited his grave. He's never had family visit.
Now with the app, he can see exactly where William Vernon Ratty was laid to rest.
It's comforting, and I think he'll forgive us for not getting there yet, but we will get there.
For Matthew Chater, it's comforting to know his grandfather's story will live on in a new way. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Plans are underway to rebuild a community fridge in Regina's Cathedral neighborhood, but opinions are mixed about if it should maybe go somewhere else. The fridge burned down in September in the Holy Rosary Church parking lot. Some local residents say they want it moved, citing safety and noise concerns. Others say it makes sense to keep the fridge where it was. There are 3 community fridges open around the clock in Regina. They offer food to people in need, as well as other things like sanitary products. What a difference a day makes. Yesterday there was freezing rain, sleet and snow across much of the province, and today the snow melted and the sun is back. It almost feels like summer again in Saskatoon. So what's in store for the weekend? Ethan is back after the break with his full forecast. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are ready for Winnipeg Blue Bombers star running back Brady Oliveira in the West Final. The Canadian RB is nominated as the West Division's nominee for Most Outstanding Player. He's also the West Division finalist for Most Outstanding Canadian. It's not a surprise. It's his second straight season of leading the league in rushing and yards from scrimmage. Head coach Corey Mace and his defense are expecting Oliveira to be heavily featured in Saturday's game.
That's been part of their recipe, and Brady's had a heck of a year. Again, you know, I'll always give flowers to those who deserve it. Brady deserves it. The offensive line deserves it. You know, Costello, their coach, deserves that. You know, they do such a great job.
We just got to get everybody to the box. You know, he's somebody that can break a lot of tackles. He's someone that's, you know, is a one cut, is going to get upfield, and you know. But at the end of the day, our D line's been doing so great this year. Our linebackers have been doing so great, and you know, our defense, we're all going to flood to the ball at the end of the day. So I mean, we just fully expect to, you know, to stop the run, because that's what we've been doing all season.
You want to win, man. You want to be the best. They've been at the top of that mountain for a few years. So for us, man, it's just about, you know, just wanting to be the best, wanting that chip. So to be the best, you got to beat the best. So that's been them. You know, the rivalries stems deep with the fans.
Sales and Johnson were among those named the CFL's best at their positions, named to the All-CFL team, as were offensive lineman Logan Ferlin, linebacker C.J. Revis, halfback Roland Milligan Jr. But while there were smiles for that recognition, focus is on the end game. The team travels to Winnipeg tomorrow. Kickoff for the West Final is on Saturday at 5:30, and the winner will compete in the Grey Cup on November 17th in Vancouver. Speaking of the Riders, an American man who has wanted to visit Regina for 30 years has finally crossed it off his bucket list. Peter Starkle was inspired by a tourism video he saw on his local cable station back in the 90s. This past week, the Michigan man visited the Queen City and took in his first Rider game.
What struck me most when I came in to the airport, I went through customs, and he says, you know, what's the nature of your visit? I said, I'm just visiting. And the guy laughed at me, the customs guy. I mean, he didn't he's like, oh, okay. And so it was quite funny. I had the impression I was like embarking on, you know, I'm a trailblazer, if you will, for tourism in Regina or something like that. It was pretty funny. I stayed at the Hotel Saskatchewan, and I ended up having dinner there in the bar the first night. And so I asked one of the waiters about this football game. I said, how do I get tickets? You know, people tell me I need to go. And he was like, oh, well, hang on. So he goes to the table next to me. There's 10, 12 guys sitting there in front of the fireplace in that bar. And he says, hey, this guy's wondering about the football game. And so one guy says, well, give me your email address. I give it to him. It was the assistant general manager of the BC Lions. He's like, here, I just gave you some tickets. He's like, but you have to wear our colors. That's the only thing. I'll give you free tickets, but you got to show up with our colors. Yeah, so that was kind of cool. I got free tickets. I went to the mall. I bought the very last BC Lions hat in the province. It was, the guy said, look, it's dusty. It's been here for years. And so I bought the hat because I figured I have to, you know, stay true to my pledge of rooting for the BC team. So I saw the game. I got to tell you the truth. I bailed out before halftime because it was so cold.
Oh, it happens to the best of us. It has been quite a year for Maya Turner. The University of Manitoba Bison's place kicker made history last year as the first woman to play and score in a regular season U Sports men's football game. This year, she becomes the first woman to be named a Canada West All-Star. This while the Bisons had a stellar end that ended abruptly when they lost to Regina in the first round of the playoffs. Turner says she's humbled.
I mean, it's always been one of my goals, not just to be good at kicking for a girl, but good in the league, good in the conference, you know, and I think this is a step towards that. And also just, just shows that I am able to compete at this level.
Turner says she's heard from girls and young women who say they're inspired by her. The team's head coach, Brian Doby, was named Coach of the Year.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. Year-end clearance is on now.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. I much prefer not fearing for my life while walking up to work in the ice.
Yeah, wasn't that nice?
Much better today.
To actually have, dry pavement. Exactly. A lot of us getting very warm today. Our friend from Michigan there, who you heard in that last couple stories, maybe you should stick around. We got some warmer weather, although, of course, we've had much colder Rider games, that's for sure. But don't need to worry about the cold today because, oh boy, look at this. Temperatures today on the left, average temperatures to the right of the slash, and many of us some 10 to 15 degrees above seasonal, especially, in eastern sections of the province, Hudson Bay, Yorkton, that's way, way above where we should be for this time of year. This is, of course, all thanks to a ridge that is built into the jet stream, and it is not only extended, into southern and central Saskatchewan, but even into the north. You hit temperatures into the double digits today. Very rare that we get there in November. A lot of these temperatures today, the high temperatures were actually hit early this morning. And then temperatures were dropping through the day in parts of northern Saskatchewan. But I think that ridge going to continue to build in as we get into tomorrow, and that warm air going to continue to extend northward. The pattern breaks down a little bit, but not by much. We're not seeing any significant troughs or dips in the jet stream over this next little while. And that means that our weather going to remain pretty quiet as we head through the rest of this work week here and into the weekend, save for a little bit of snow skirting far northern Saskatchewan as we get into the early morning hours tomorrow. Maybe a bit of freezing rain mixed in with that in Stony Rapids and Uranium City, but a nice sunny day for many of us heading into tomorrow. And then as we kind of advance the picture here, we have our next weather maker starting to move in as we get into Sunday. And a Saturday, I think that'll bring increasing cloudiness through the province. It's really kind of through that the northern grain belt in the Churchill region where we could get some messy weather as we head into Sunday. This is an early look at it, so snowfall and rainfall totals are pretty preliminary. I don't think it's going to be huge, maybe in the range of up to 5 centimeters. And in terms of the rainfall, if it falls as rain, this particular model saying in the range of 5 to 10. So a shot of moisture again in east to central and northeastern parts of the province primarily. Winds are going to stay a little bit breezy in advance of this system moving in the next couple of days. Nothing too strong here and there, but will be a bit of a breeze every once in a while. That for Regina means gusts in the range of 40 to 50 pretty much through these next 4 days straight. But gorgeous temperatures continuing as we head into the weekend. For the Monday, again, for Remembrance Day ceremonies, looking like a nice day outside before we get a bit of that system sliding through into Tuesday in southern Saskatchewan. For Saskatoon, I think we're looking for even warmer temperatures, 12, 13 degrees tomorrow, staying double digits until Saturday. Again, Tuesday, our next best chance for some moisture. But even at that, Sam, snow and maybe still some rain in there, too.
I'm starting to think we need rain, though. Like, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a very dry October for sure.
Kidding. Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
Remember these guys? A trip to Toronto often means a top at the CN Tower, and today, a couple of visiting ambassadors made the ride up. Yes, Dawson and Pacey are ambassadors for this year's Royal Agricultural Winter Festival. At the fair, they're greeting guests and helping with award presentations. I imagine getting a few pets as well. We'll be back after the break. The federal government says it is time up for TikTok. The social media company has been ordered to shut down its business operations in Canada. Canada's Industry and Innovation Minister says it's because of a national security concern.
The decision we took was to protect the national security of Canada on the basis of the analysis that we conducted with our security services. And we came to the conclusion that these activities that were conducted in Canada by TikTok at their offices would be injurious to national security.
Panic not, fellow scrollers. This ban does not include personal TikTok accounts. It just means the corporate offices in Toronto and Vancouver need to wind down. Canadians can still use the video platform to follow and create content, but the government says users should have their eyes wide open because it is worried personal data could be obtained by the Chinese government. And Ethan is back with one last look at your weather.
Going to be a really warm one comparatively to normals for this time of year in Regina. Overnight -2. Look at how light those winds are. Barely wind chill at all. Tomorrow morning our temperature won't rise much by 8 o'clock. -1, by the way, very nice for this time of year at that time, but then it'll shoot up to 8 degrees, just kind of like it did today, warming up very quickly by the noon hour. A little bit of a breeze as we head into the afternoon. Southerly winds and that southerly flow going to keep things warm for Saskatoon as well. May not even drop below freezing overnight tonight. By the afternoon there, again, a bit of a breeze, but 10 degrees already by the afternoon with mainly sunny skies. And if you don't get out to enjoy it tomorrow, Sam, not to worry. Saturday looking the same as well.
Looks good. Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
Okay, before we go, for the hockey fans, we have seen the designs and now we have the real thing. The PWHL's brand new jerseys with those logos they unveiled back in September. The league released this video just last hour showing the jerseys for both home and away games, so the anticipation is really building now for the league's sophomore season. That gets underway later this month. Boston will face off against Toronto in the first game on November 30th. And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask. You can subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel, or you can download the CBC News app on your phone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.